This is part 2 in a series of 3 for this diesel heater install. I just felt there was that much information here. So if you haven't watched part 1 yet, go back to the playlist and watch part 1 first, because part 2 may not make sense without part 1. As I mentioned before, this bus build is mostly fueled by Tim Hortons coffee and Timbits. I could mount it like that, but I don't think that's ideal. It might be best to put it like this. It's got to be on a 15 to 35 degree angle, so right about like that. I have self-tapping screws and a nut runner on the drill, and I'll put it right in here. Like that. Not as tight as I want it just yet, but it's there, it's secure. The electrical connection goes towards the pump. So I've got it in the right spot. I've got it where I want it. Is cut this fuel line with a little bit of extra for good measure. Pull it through good enough. Tuck it up there. So we'll cut it here. Get one of those crazy little clamps. Put it here out of the way. Get this cap off the end. And it's easier to do this when it's not in a weird awkward position. There we go. If you didn't see what I just did, I put some spit on the end of the pipe, just so that the hose would slip on it a little bit better. Yeah, I don't have any comment about that. We'll just leave it alone. And I will put the clamp over the little joint there as well. Yeah, now we're good. Going up. There is a filter here that goes in the line before here, which I'm thinking I'm going to want to do somewhere in the middle. I'm hoping you can see me. Put that on there. And clamp in place. I really don't like these clamps. I don't think they hold well enough. But I haven't had a leak in the camper yet, so I guess it's okay. Turn the clamp away from the electrical connection. Now I'm going to put this back up here. On my angle, and we should be good there. I have a box that I want to put this all in and mount it here somewhere, but I can't find the box, so this is just temporary for now. I will locate the box and I'll come down here and do all that later. I'm going to put it fairly close, just be easier for me to tie it up. I think I might put it here And I'm just going to put a vibration dampening clamp on it and just put a little bolt through it and it'll be fine. So I'm going to cut it here. Put a little clamp on up in there. There we go. Even those pliers. And make sure it's on the hose. There we go. That's that in. Over there. And a little clamp. On the hose. And same deal. And the pliers. And clamp up. There we go. So that's got the pump and everything. I can plug the pump in. There we go. Plug is pumped in. I will tie all this up on the fresh air intake when I install that. So now I'm going to go and get the tank, and for the time being I'm going to use the self tappers, and I'm going to go through from this side out, and there will be a little bit sticking out on the outside, which I'll probably put a piece of tape over, and then what I'm going to do is replace them with a bolt, and that'll just be a little bit safer for all involved. But let's go inside. There's a little bit of prep work to do to the tank. Then we come back out here. I'll put the tank on, and then I'll hook all these lines up too, and then we're done on the outside. And then it's just a matter of hooking up, running the electrical properly, and filling that tank. So the fuel tank leaves you with some options of where you want to put the fitting for dumping it out. So I want to put the fill spout forward. So that means it's going to get mounted like this. With this front of the bus, this side on the outside. I'm going to have to make some little spaces and stuff, but that's the direction I want it to go. So I can draw off of here or off of here. It's opposite of the fill. So I'm going to draw off the bottom one, of course, because it wouldn't make sense to draw off of here because you wouldn't be able to get that much of your fuel. So now what they come with is a set of fittings. So this is the fitting to draw. Just this little wee thing, but it's got to be installed from the inside. And you're like, well, how am I gonna get it through the hole on the inside? I can't get my hands in. Push the fuel hose through out the other side. You put the fitting on this side on the fuel hose, and then pull it through. But you gotta remember, with the washers, there's a seal ring here. One on the inside. There's an O-ring here that goes on the inside of the tank, and there's an O-ring here that goes on the outside of the tank behind the nut. You got to put the nut on the hose before you put it through. Otherwise, you're not going to get the nut on the hose unless you run it down the whole length of the hose, which is not a big deal if you don't have that much hose. Comes with 3 screws, self-tappers and washers. The problem I'm going to have is the lip along the underside of the bus. I will show it to you when we get out there. I wanted to show you this. So what I've got to do is I've got to go and get the drill bit that fits this. So I'm going to go get a drill bit and I'll drill the hole. I'll show you that when I come back. And then when we go back underneath the bus, I'll show you when I put the hose and everything on. Now, this being a compression, I don't, well, it's not compression, but I still have to put the clamp on too. So you gotta remember to put all these things on, because I've probably got another 10-15 feet, and feeding that all the way on is just unnecessary if you do it ahead of time. Then you don't have to run it the whole length of your hose, you don't have to cut your hose, whatever. But that's what we're gonna do. And actually, I'll show you why right now, because I've already got it all hooked up to the pump and the filter. So I can't feed it through from that side anyway, so that doesn't matter. Let's go get the drill bit. All right, the bit I found that fit the best was a 19/64. You don't want too much space around it that it's going to be unable to seal with the O-rings, and at the same time you don't want it so tight that you got to fight with it to get it through the hole. Now, like I said, we want to do the one underneath. There's one here in case you put it that way, right? But we're going to go this way, that towards the front, and we're going to put the hole right here. Nice flat spot to put it. There we go. That was the easy part. Now, I'm going to put that nut runner. Should be the same size. Yeah, same size. If you want to know what size that was, that's a 5/16 nut runner for the self-tapping screws for mounting everything. So now, I'm going to put everything back in the little baggie because I don't want to lose any of the pieces that are specific to the tank. Of course, I'm not going to put them back in the tank. I got a little box for them. Let's go. Put that back on. Okay, let's go back in the tank. Go crawl back underneath the bus. I want to mount the tank right there, which leads me to some problems. I don't have anywhere convenient to mount this tank. So I don't think we'll be mounting the tank until I run over and get some bolts. I've got to run bolts through to the outside. The little self-tappers are not going to reach. I wasn't sure, but they're definitely not going to reach. So what I'm still going to hook it all up so you can see what I'm doing. We've got to make sure we put the washer and the nut have to go on here. It's just that simple. And then we need a clamp. So the clamp, we've got to put the noise you hear. Isa, our older Siberian Husky, she's in agility training. Christina is working in the yard with her. So there's a whole lot of noise going on. Okay, clamp on, nut on, and the O-ring goes on. So this is all the stuff that has to go on the exterior of the tank. And now we feed the line. This is the trickier part. It's getting the line. When I did this on the camper, I had a hard time getting this stupid line to go down far enough because it just wants to curl up on itself. It's doing it here too. Here's my solution. Just a piece of wire with a loop. Ideally, you'd use a metal coat hanger for this, but do you think I could find one? I know I have some. Just hook it and just gently pull it through. Grab it with your fingers. There we go. Now on this end, of course, it's the fitting for the inside, and then it's probably best to put a clamp on this side as well. It just keeps the line from popping off. What am I talking about? The clamp isn't going. The clamp's already on there. This goes outside. Oh man. Okay. Now, this is probably not. Obviously, I've got too much hose here, so I'm not putting this on to where I can't take it back off. Now you just go ahead and pull it back out gently, very carefully, because if you pull it back off, you're gonna start all over again. There we go. Just a little snug. Better to be a little snug than not be able to do it at all. So now the hose popped off, so that's okay. So what I'm going to do now is just take the O-ring and the nut off of the hose and just carefully holding on to it so as not to push it back into the tank. There we go. And then you just tighten it up. But anyway, there it is. It's installed. It's ready to go. This is going to go right up in here like this. If I go back to this bracket, I can't get the cap off. I go here, I can push it all the way up. You know, and then I can get the cap off to fill it. So I've got to get some bolts and probably make a spacer for in there. Yeah, I'll have to make a spacer that's this depth here. So that's installing the tank is going to be a little bit later. But now that we're under here and we've got this all ready to go, so we don't need to worry about that. Let's put the cap back on this. I will tighten that up when I go back up. So now I brought this piece, which goes on the air intake. So let's bring it a little closer so you can see this a little bit better. Might be okay right there. It's not going to be completely straight. A little farther back might be better. Right there. So, I don't know how well this will work. There we go. Buffer is mounted. Exhaust line is mounted. Tightened up. Okay, I need to go get some 1/4-inch screws, or bolts rather, and I need to make a spacer. And I'll come back when I've got the screws, or the bolts rather, and the spacers, and we'll mount that properly. Shouldn't be too long. All right, like I said before, Christina's working with the dogs. We got to set up in the yard because we haven't built any proper stuff. But let's see how Seamus is doing. This is his first time doing this. Well, first time today. Look at that.
Check, check. Good girl, come, me, check, check. Check, check. Good check, good girl, over. Final. Good girl, me, over.
Okay. The backside of the tank, a little bit of a bump where the screws go through. That almost fits it perfectly. Happy about that. So, I want the tank right there. I'm going to mark the top hole. There it is. Mount it up in there. I can fill it through there because I can take the cap off easy enough. I'm going to tighten those up and then we'll be done underneath.